Back in the day, I had a close friend that I'll call Chad. We met one day through mutual friends on Instagram. He was a photographer, and I was an aspiring model, so we kind of just meshed. Chad became the type of friend that would treat your house like it's his, but in a good way. He would walk in unannounced, he would go into the fridge himself, and he would even help tidy the house when he was there. We were friends for years, and it took a long time for us to get to this level of friendship. I do the exact same when I go over to his parents' house. Chad and I did everything together. It was to a point that we somehow ended up getting girlfriends at the same time with another set of best friends. One late night, Chad was supposed to come over and chill for the night because we were supposed to be going to the beach with the girls in the morning. He was supposed to come over around 7, but by 7:30, he was nowhere to be found. It wasn't odd for him to be late, but usually he would have said something. Even though we had each other's numbers, for some reason we always texted on Instagram, maybe because that's how we started, and we just felt more comfortable there. He shot me a text and said he's going to be late, and asked if I could leave the door open. I asked him if he doesn't have his key, and he said that he left it at home because he was in a rush. I said okay, and I agreed to leave the front door unlocked, but it was still pushed up so nobody would really know unless they tried it. He said he was a few minutes away, and I said fine. I went to get in the shower because I was smelling kind of ripe from the workout before. While I was in the shower, I heard the door open, and automatically, I assumed it was Chad. I was drying off when I heard a lot of noise from the downstairs, so I called out Chad's name, but no response. I was about to open the door when I got a call from my phone. It was from Chad's mother's cell. It was Chad saying that he was going to be late because he thinks he misplaced his phone somewhere. I was confused, so I asked him, "Did you ever make it to the house?" He said, "No, man." I turned back to see if my phone was at home. Just then, I heard footsteps on the creaky wooden floor approaching the bathroom. I slowly locked the bathroom door and put my shorts on. I could hear Chad still saying hello, and I whispered, "Someone's in the house. Call the police." I looked around for anything I could use as a weapon, and I settled on an air freshener. Not the most intimidating, I know, but it's the best thing I could find in the moment. If he had any weapons, the best option I had was to blind him so he couldn't use it right away. I was in full fight mode with adrenaline coursing through my veins when I heard my dog barking. It was a trained attack dog, so I rattled my brain trying to remember the German word to attack. When I remembered it, I shouted the butchered word as best as I could, and just like that, the man was being attacked and ripped apart by my German shepherd. I opened the bathroom door and saw him desperately trying to fight off the dog. By now, he was in a crotch bite with his weapon inches away from him. Every time he would try to move, however, the dog would pull down. I called the police, and they were there in a few minutes to arrest the guy. In the corridor, I saw Chad's phone, and that's when it all made sense. Somehow, he got Chad's password and tracked me down with the information in Chad's phone. I still think what would have happened if I walked out the first time I heard the man in the house. Luckily, we won't have to find out. And you can bet that I gave our dog extra treats at night and treated him like a king. I used to really like Instagram back when it just blew up. I liked the idea of being able to post pictures of me and my friends, like an album we could share online. I had about 200 followers at the time this happened, which was alright. I wasn't really looking to grow a huge account or anything, but it was public, so anyone could actually go on it to see the pictures. Because of how small my account was, if there was any new account commenting on my pictures, it'd be pretty obvious. One day, my phone kept vibrating while I was trying to do some homework, and they were all from Instagram. One account liked all of my pictures, which was only about 20 or somewhere around there, so it wasn't too crazy. I clicked on his profile to see who it was. The guy had 5 pictures on his account. He was actually decent looking for his age, so I followed him back mostly out of courtesy. He had grey hairs and a mature face. I easily said he was about 30 or 40 years my senior. After that photo, he would like and comment on all of my pictures, and it started becoming almost expected. A few days in, there was a DM from him, the same guy. He was saying I was cute and I should meet him. I said, "Lol, no thanks." He said, "Alright, lol," so I thought he had dropped it. The next time he was in my DMs was when my family and I went out to the beach. I took a picture of us in the driveway and then a couple of me in my bathsuit. The guy DM'd me, saying that I looked really sexy and that he'd love to see it in person sometime. It started getting creepy because of the age gap and the fact that he was so persistent. Add that to the fact that he seemed to be getting more and more bold with his statements, I stopped responding to his chat and blocked him. The very next day though, I got a DM from an account with no name, just numbers, and it asked why I blocked him. Did he do something wrong? I told him I didn't feel comfortable talking to him and asked him to leave me alone. I thought it had ended there. On my way to school one day, I got on the train and put my earphones in to pass the time. The train was packed, but I started to feel someone watching me. Out of the corner of my eye, I could have sworn I saw the man from the Instagram profile. It was hard to tell though, because there were many people blocking him. He seemed to be moving closer and closer to me at every stop, and I'd now put on a baseball cap. This made me even more suspicious, but I was close to my stop, so I started moving towards the door. That's when I heard a commotion behind me. The man was now forcibly pushing his way towards the door aggressively, even though the other door was way closer and even clearer. I started trying to rush through the crowd, but I could feel him closing in on me. I made it to the door just as the door pulled. The man walked out directly behind me as I sped walk through the train station. By now, he was almost running me down, and I panicked. Just by luck, I accidentally ran directly into a security guard that worked in the train station. I said, "Please help me, the man is chasing me." I think it took him a second to register the fear in my face. Without a word, he stashed me behind him and stood between me and the man, staring him down intensely. I quickly went on my phone and took multiple screenshots of his Instagram profile as he walked away with his face covered by the baseball cap. The security guard walked me partially to my school and gave me his number to call just in case anything else happened. He said he had connections to the police force. Eventually, I reported it to the police and gave them the screenshots because, as I suspected, the Instagram profile was deleted. They're trying to find him now since he was having inappropriate conversations with a minor. I'm still grateful to that security guard today because I really have no idea what would have happened if he had caught me. When I was growing up, I had really strict parents. I was never really allowed to go anywhere except my co-curriculars, church, and school. I did have a phone, but I had to find different ways to keep my privacy. I had a lot of apps hidden on the phone, and one of them was Instagram. I made sure it wasn't attached to my name or email that my parents knew about because they checked all my things constantly. At 14, I had a few pictures and about 150 followers, but it was a public account, so anyone could click and view on it. That was a bad decision on my part, but I was young. One day, a really cute guy named Pedro followed my page. He was commenting on a lot of my pictures. He said some things that piqued my interest, and so I ended up DMing him. He was a really nice boy, very charming and sweet the entire time we talked. We flirted a little, and things got relatively intense for our age. I had never had an actual boyfriend, much less one from the internet. I really wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing. Eventually, he would ask for certain pictures, and I would send the occasional teasing picture in my underwear. I didn't feel comfortable naked, and would refuse every time he asked for them. At the time, I think part of me sent them because I thought it was the only way to keep him interested in me. One day, we decided that we would meet up while I was on my way to rehearsal, since I usually had to find my own way there. We made all the plans and we came up with an exact time. Growing up, unfortunately, all the restrictions and rules didn't make me a better child, just made me more sneaky to get what I wanted. We met at a park and we were talking for a while. It was also my first kiss on that park bench, and he said "I love you" in Spanish. Then he said we should get some ice cream. He said he would even be willing to pay, and I went along with whatever he said as a lovesick puppy leashed by the thought of her first boyfriend. Between the park and the ice cream place though, there was a white van with tinted windows parked on the street. I keep a note of all the cars around me to see if my parents were nearby. I remember seeing this white van park at almost the exact same time that we arrived in the park, and no one had left it since. I felt uncomfortable, so I asked him to walk further down the road to cross, but he just kept saying, "It's fine." Then he started to drag me by my arm, forcibly trying to make me cross the street closer to the van. I kept saying, "Let go, you're hurting me," but he wouldn't listen. Then the van slowly opened. They were shouting in Spanish as he tried to push me into the van. Just then, I heard my dad's voice ring through the park in a panic. I hit Pedro in the nose and he was finally able to let me go. As I ran towards my dad, I heard the door van slam shut and the van was screeching down the road. I held my dad tightly and started to cry. He lifted me and brought me all the way back to the car, still crying. My parents explained it to me again recently, so I understand how serious it really was. Pedro was a frontman for an underground human trafficking ring. He would be the one to lure the young girls. After he would charm them, it was his job to bring them to a location to be picked up and brought wherever after. It was also found by their cybersecurity unit that some of the pictures I had sent Pedro were being shared on some shady websites. The thought of those filthy perverts looking at my 14-year-old body still disgusts me to this day. If it wasn't for my dad tracking my phone, there's a chance I would have gone missing. I understand that some would say it was an invasion of privacy, but unfortunately, I wasn't as sneaky as I thought, and they were becoming worried. They also knew that if they asked me directly, I would have lied without batting an eye. I explained everything to them as best as I could, and of course they punished me. But first we had a real serious conversation about why they're so protective, and why exactly they have the rules in place. I will admit, I was still sneaky after that, but I learned to be more careful, more open to my parents, and a little less rebellious. Please, if you're young out there, be careful on the internet. There's a lot that you might still not know about.